That's it. This iPhone Air might actually be the one. If anybody knows, I have been holding on to my 13 mini since it came out. And I check out the new iPhones every single year. But most of the time, I just go back to my iPhone 13 mini. I love this device so much. There's a cult following of the 13 mini. And even today in 2025, it holds up well. Let me be clear. I am fully prepared to go back to my 13 mini. But this thing is tired, man. It is tired. I didn't even bother updating this thing to iOS 26. It's still on iOS 18 and it's throttling because the battery health and all that. But this thing is tired. So the iPhone Air has been my hope at replacing my 13 mini, and just unboxing this thing, feeling it in hand, it might be the one. That said, I already don't really upgrade my phone every year, even before getting my 13 mini. I'm sort of a wannabe minimalist. I try to run my tech into the ground. I love to check out all the new tech and stuff, but I typically have my simple go-to device, that being my 13 mini or my light phone 3. I love my minimalist phones at the same time, but I think it's finally time. My 13 mini is at 78% battery health. I've already replaced the battery twice on this thing, but as anybody knows, with battery health goes, the lower it gets, the more your phone throttles and the more charge cycles you put on it. So the battery health goes lower even faster. And I can say off the bat, getting this iPhone Air in hand, Apple is actually onto something with this, and I'm hoping they update this thing every 2 years or something. Now, one thing I can say is that I absolutely hate setting this thing up is that the iPhone Air is eSIM only, as with all the other iPhones coming out this year. I'm in Canada, so we had physical SIMs up until this year on iPhones. And as somebody who loves transferring my phone around, getting eSIM really sucks. So I feel bad for you guys in the US who have already been dealing with eSIM. It costed me $5 to transfer my iPhone 13 mini to eSIM, and then another $5 to get it onto my iPhone Air. So if you're on eSIM and you guys are with Public Mobile in Canada at least, which is TELUS. I don't know how the other carriers charge, but it cost me $10 just to move my SIM card over. I miss physical SIMs already. Now that said, I want to talk about if this thing can replace my iPhone 13 mini, but I do also want to give a huge thanks to MOFT for sponsoring a portion of today's video. More on them in a bit. Now the first thing I got to talk about is the weight of this device. Getting this thing in hand off the bat, I would automatically think, and I was apprehensive to even get this in the first place because the screen is 6.5 inches, and I'll talk more about the screen and all that. But the reason why I actually decided to get the Air is mainly because of obviously the thinness, but the weight. So my iPhone 13 mini, I'm going to round these numbers. The iPhone 13 mini is about like 140 grams. The iPhone Air is about 160 grams. And my light phone 3, I think is like 150 grams or 140 grams as well. So I love my light devices. It doesn't necessarily have to be smaller, but if it's light and small enough, consider me happy. Now, of course, while this isn't going to be small screen-wise like the 13 mini, it does feel incredible in hand. Shockingly so. I'll say that off the bat. Again, I'm that 13 mini devotee. I keep going back to it. So any of my 12 mini or 13 mini diehards, go to the Apple Store and get this thing in hand. I wasn't expecting it. I went to pick this up this morning, and the first thing when picking this up, I was just completely shooketh. So yeah, while this isn't going to be as small as the 13 mini, the weight trade-off might be worth it for a lot of people. Now, one thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of weird mixed hype and bashing of this device. I see online a lot of people are crapping on the lack of features. There's only one camera. They're saying the battery's going to be bad. That phone might not be for you. If you care about those things, this phone might not be for you. For myself, I have my big boy camera I'm filming on now. I have my Fuji. Let me just grab this thing. I have my, and I'll talk more about the camera as well, but I have my Fuji X106 and my other Fuji camera. I love my big boy cameras, and these things are strapped to me pretty much at all times. So I'm okay just having one camera. The ultra wide on my mini, I didn't really use that much. So I think I'm okay with the single camera as well. And I'm actually gonna go out quite a lot today and test all that on the go. But this isn't positioned for those people who want all those features. This is positioned for the people like me who appreciate thin and light, even if there is some missing features. So while this isn't really positioned as a Pro S device, naturally, of course, you're gonna be getting the iPhone Pro if you want the Pro experience, but I'm pretty certain this is gonna be decent for a lot of people. Talking about the build and design of this thing, naturally it's thin, it's light, 160 grams. This thing is also built of titanium, and it feels kind of slippery almost, if I'm honest. It kind of reminds me of the iPhone 10 and the 10s in terms of how it feels in hand, but Again, I'm telling you, this might be the flippin' one. One thing I can say in terms of, I guess, the rails on the side, it is a bit fingerprinty, but I'm not worried too much about that. I'm not really one to wipe my phone down every 3 seconds. Fingerprints are fingerprints. You're going to see them. That said, I'm sure it's more noticeable on the black one, which is what I have. And for anybody who's getting silver, or I don't even remember the other colors, that should be a little bit better when it comes down to fingerprints. To round out that build and design, though, this is an engineering marvel and very well done on the build and design. My main thing is if I can get used to the larger screen. We'll see. Now, naturally, of course, that titanium is going to be super durable. I've seen bend tests online already, which is crazy. But I'm not going to go dropping this because I usually use a case. The one I'm using is from MOFT, which is today's video sponsor. Even without working with MOFT, you guys have heard me talk about their accessories loads of times, especially in my EDC videos. But what they have new this year is their MOFT Snap Studio box, which is pretty much a full modular ecosystem built around the iPhone. Inside of this box, at least, you'll find a range of MagSafe accessories. My personal favorite is definitely going to be the tripod wallet, which I've talked about at length on this channel. There's a dual watch band that snaps onto 4 different looks for your Apple Watch, and even a lanyard if you do want to go hands-free if you're using the camera a lot on the go. But the combo I keep coming back to is the snap case and the field wallet. Now, talking about the snap case, this is made from MOFT vegan leather, and I honestly think this is probably the case that Apple should have made instead of getting rid of their leather lineup entirely, or at least considered it before going to fine woven. For myself, because I love the thinness of my Air, at least this case does maintain that thin profile while still adding protection that I want. And since I am actually one of those weirdos that uses the capture button on my phone, the case does have touch sensitivity with the capture button, which is a huge plus. Of course, pairing this with the Snap Field wallet gives me everything I need for my everyday carry. While some days I only want to carry 2 or 3 cards, this does fan out to have up to 8 cards on a heavier carry day, plus room for cash, coins, and even a SIM card and SIM tool. If you need it, of course. Again, we're on eSIM now, which is a bit of a bummer, but it's there. I really dig it because it is origami inspired. It's still super compact, and my favorite part is that it does double as a stand. So this is perfect for days I'm at the office or pretty much catching a show wherever I might be. So whether I'm at home, I'm on the go, or working, or whatever else, the snap case and field combo for myself is my go-to, and it's just a solid minimal setup that'll keep you agile. If you are checking out the new iPhone lineup, be sure to use the link down below if you do want to see MOFT's Snap ecosystem. It's pretty dope, and I really dig it. And thanks again to MOFT for sponsoring a portion of today's video. Now with that, I'm gonna head out today and actually put this iPhone to use because I want to test out the camera. So I'm actually gonna go bouldering today. I'm gonna grab some lunch, maybe hit up a bookstore, and maybe go down to the lake to really test out the camera. So we'll see how this all goes. So I'm gonna take you guys along with me, really test out this iPhone, put it through my sort of first impressions of this thing, and see if it can really replace my 13 mini. So yeah, we'll see. All right, so I had a good time using this thing while I was out and about today, and I had a chance to go out by the lake, do some skateboarding, some rock climbing indoors, and I'm still gonna mess out around with this thing a little bit tonight, but I wanted to talk about the camera on here because it's far from the best in the entire lineup. Naturally, it's gonna be missing the ultra-wide camera that the 17 has, and it's not gonna have the best telephoto lens that the, I guess the Pro lineup has, but it is an absolute gargantuan upgrade from my iPhone 13 mini. Now with that, this is still missing a camera compared to my iPhone 13 mini. It doesn't have that ultra wide, but I didn't personally use the ultra wide all too much. And I find a lot of value in the 48 megapixel sensor on here because there's lots of resolution to work with. So I don't know why Apple calls it optical lenses and optical zoom and stuff. It's not, it's just a digital crop, but there is some processing to make it actually look damn good, and it does look damn good. Now, to be completely honest, the camera on the iPhone Air is absolutely excellent, but so is the camera on my iPhone 13 mini. And the reason why the camera isn't going to be a make or break for me when it comes down to the 13 mini or the iPhone Air is because I already use my big boy cameras. Right now I'm filming on my Sony camera, and let me just get it. I showed my X100 camera earlier, but I also use this other Fuji camera in here, and I'm pretty much always with a camera. And because of that, I'm more decentralized from my smartphone, but I can still definitely say, even if you aren't leaning on an external camera, the photos and videos on this thing are absolutely excellent. I shoot all my content in 4K 24 frames per second, but this does do 30 FPS, 60 FPS. I shot in slow motion when I was skating. I haven't done that in a long time, and it all turned out incredibly well. I started my YouTube channel filming on just my iPhone. I think it was my 12 mini and my 13 mini. I started filming all my videos on iPhone, and I could still do that today, even with the iPhone Air. You don't need all those crazy lenses. My favorite camera of all time is my Fuji X100VI, and that has a fixed lens, meaning there is no zooming when it comes down to any sort of video. And that's similar to this, but you do have some zoomability because the 48 megapixels. Now with that, there are some things that are missing from the iPhone Air. Of course, isn't going to be that ultra wide camera. There are some times where I do want to frame super wide, especially if you're getting, establishing shots and all that. I love my cinematography, and you're sort of limited by just having the single focal length, despite being able to, zoom 2 times and stuff. That's usable, but there is no ultra wide. Do I miss it that much? No, I think I'm okay. The other thing I can say is that I'm missing is log shooting. I absolutely love color grading. I'm not the greatest at it, but when I do shoot more, cinematic content, I like color grading my content. So I'm missing having log. I didn't have it on my 13 mini. I don't have it on the Air, so it's not the biggest thing for myself. But I am going to be checking out the iPhone 17 Pro, which does have log, and that is something that I missed having. That said, there's nothing stopping you from using the image right out of camera. You don't have to color grade everything. Majority of people probably don't even need log recording, even if they are going to be getting the 17 Pro. I imagine lots of professionals and creators, of course, will be using log, but not having it on the Air is not a deal breaker for me. This is an absolute massive upgrade for my iPhone 13 mini. Now, one thing that sort of had me almost shocked was the front-facing camera. I know just from watching Apple's keynote, it was already exciting enough to see the changes they made, making it so that you can hold the phone vertically and get a horizontal image. That's huge for anybody who's taking photos or videos, but I wasn't expecting the actual quality to be that much better with an 18 megapixel sensor. My guess is because for anybody using the front camera, you're typically going to be a lot closer to the camera, so it just looks really flipping good. First things first is that I'm super out of shape, but this is the front-facing camera. There's a lot of skateboarding, wind, water, and people. So I have no idea how well this is going to sound, but they made the front camera flip an open gate. So that's actually kind of unreal. The front camera on my iPhone is open gate. Anyhow, I figured I'd do a little quick test, and it looks insane. This is so stable while skateboarding. If anybody's ever thinking about doing content creation, literally just pick up the iPhone 17 straight up. And just for the record, I'm just using the native camera app in all of my testing today specifically. I might dive into Blackmagic Cam or Kino or something another day, but the regular camera app is fine, and I will have some footage of the front-facing camera as well as some of the other stuff that I filmed today. Now, moving on to a huge talking point that a lot of people love to sort of talk about when it comes down to the Air. Everybody thinks that the battery on here is going to be trash. And I'll tell you right off the bat, there's no true easy way to test the battery because everybody's usage is different, everybody's apps are different, all the background processes are going to be different. Everything you do on your phone is personalized to you. So for me to tell you the battery is good or bad, it's going to be dependent on how you use your phone. Now that said, come on, I'm coming from an iPhone 13 mini. The battery's obviously going to be way better. Now my iPhone 13 mini is at like 78% battery health, and the fact that this can still sort of get me through an entire day, I'm not too pressed about the iPhone Air having a bad battery. And today I was out and about a ton filming, doing a whole ton of usage, the initial setup and stuff. And yeah, I did have this plugged in inside my car and stuff, but the battery so far, even right now, is at 55% with just minor top ups here and there. Now I did see Apple launch their proprietary MagSafe power bank. I didn't bother getting it because I simply don't need it. A MagSafe bank is a MagSafe bank to me. If I'm going to slap it on there in the first place, that defeats the purpose of the thinness. So I might as well just use whatever power bank I already own. And I have a thin one already, and I have a beefy one already. So if I'm going to be topping up in the middle of the day, I'll slap it on there when I'm not using my phone and be done with it. Otherwise, again, I can charge in my car or at my desk during my day job or whenever I'm home. I don't have an issue with that. So when it comes down to battery, so far so good. And obviously, if you are a power user, something like the regular 17 or maybe the 17 Pro will probably do you a little bit better. But yeah, just for today alone, this was far from my typical use case. I was out and about all day. I took today off work because I was actually excited about this device. I haven't been excited enough for a device to review it that I took a day off work, but today I did, and the battery held up incredibly well so far. Now, another thing that's really nice coming from my iPhone 13 mini, and I've talked about 120 hertz displays in the past, they're not a make or break for me. While the 120 hertz on the Air is definitely nicer, I'm still perfectly fine with 60 hertz. I've talked about this on the normal 16 lineup, the 15 lineup. For the most majority of people, 60 hertz is still perfectly fine. Granted, the 120 hertz, there's no denying, it's absolutely beautiful. One thing that is going to be a huge improvement is the brightness outdoors. Again, I'm more of a homebody, so I'm not outdoors all the time, but having taken my 13 mini out and about today alongside the Air, it's easy to say the screen on here is going to be bounds better with, I think the peak brightness is, I don't know, 3,000 nits or something. I'm not nerdy enough to measure this whole thing, but it did look a lot better than my 13 mini, so I really dig that. Now that said, having tested the display indoors and outdoors, it is absolutely gorgeous. That's not gonna come as a surprise really to anybody. Apple does make incredible displays. So if I am just vibing out watching shows on here, or just the odd time that I want to let myself doom scroll, it's going to look good, and I don't really have any complaints about that. So yeah, the display is absolutely gorgeous. Now, the one thing that I was a little bit worried about was the fact that this is a 6.5-inch display, which is a lot bigger than my 13 mini. Now, the 13 mini, again, I have clung onto this device because of the size. I think it's 5.3 inches. So this is a big jump. If there's going to be one thing that puts me back onto my 13 mini so far, it's probably going to be the size of this thing. If Apple ever decided to make this in a mini form factor, I'd be sold and I'd keep that thing for as long as possible. So far, surprisingly though, this thing is easily one-handable, more than I thought it would be, just based off of the spec sheet saying 6.5 inches on the display side of things. For my iPhone 13 mini diehards, if you're like myself, you're worried about the size increase, I'll tell you straight up that it is definitely handleable. It has to be something to do with the thinness of this device. So yeah, just something to mention. The display size, yes, it's bigger, but it sort of compensates for the thinness, I will say. Now, the other thing I was sort of worried about when it comes down to this device is the single speaker, which is just the earpiece. And I was worried until I wasn't. I'm the guy who uses his phone in the shower to blast music. Since I just got home and cleaned up, I had a chance to take a shower, and just naturally I threw on my music. I'll tell you, the speaker is absolutely fine. Is it going to be better than the Pro or the normal 17? Obviously not, but if you're worried about it, don't be, because straight up the speaker on here is perfectly fine. I'll have a little sound test here, just as an example. Not that a YouTube video will really do it justice, but the speaker's fine and it gets plenty loud. So yeah, well done Apple when it comes down to the speaker. Now, that said, I'm gonna play around with this thing a little bit more and sort of round out my thoughts for the day. I will also have, a long-term review in a couple weeks or so, but man, I am more than surprised with this device. I thought for sure I'd be missing my 13 mini. Hasn't been the case yet. Okay, so I want to sort of round out the rest of this video just to sort of talk about some of the things I liked and disliked about this device. And overall, I can say I definitely like it. Now, some of the first things I really like about this device, obviously, that's probably going to be the 120 hertz screen. I mentioned it's not the biggest thing in the world. It really isn't, but it's still nice to have coming from my 13 mini with the 60 hertz display. That's a big upgrade, and it really looks good. So I don't really have anything to complain about it. Whenever I game on my PC, for example, it's all 120 hertz or higher when I'm on my game consoles on my PC or whatever. And it's just a nice to have. So I definitely say I like that about the iPhone Air. As well on display is going to be Dynamic Island. I've played around with it in the past when I reviewed the iPhone 15 Pro and the 16 Pro. Again, having gone back to my 13 mini, it's not the biggest feature ever, but I like it. It's definitely not going to change your experience all too much, but having listened to a bunch of music today, I was setting some timers while cooking, Dynamic Island, it's actually pretty sweet. So yeah, it's another feature I like having. And obviously the biggest feature I like about this is going to come down to the thinness and lightness of this device. Again, you could put a case on this device and it's still going to be thinner than some other devices on the market. And again, for any of my 13 mini diehards, this is probably going to be the closest thing you have when it comes down to modern devices. I sound like a broken record for this one, but I really truly like the thinness of this device the most, and I can see why it exists. And as for some of the things I don't like about this device, again, it's not a deal breaker, but I don't have an ultra wide on here. As somebody who loves cinematography, again, getting those establishing shots or just getting a wide shot in general, having that extra lens would be awesome. I know the Galaxy S25 Edge or whatever the hell it's called has an ultra wide as well. Maybe it's a telephoto and a wide angle. I don't know. That does have two cameras and this only has one, so that's something I don't really like about it. Now, alongside that, again, I already mentioned this, there's no log, so that's one thing I don't like about it. And the last thing I don't like about this is that it is 6.5 inches. Coming from the Mini, again, my dream would have been this device to be a little bit smaller, maybe 6.1 or 6.3 at the top end. 6.5 is a little bit big. Yes, it is one-handable and it's definitely usable as it is. I just would have wanted something a little bit smaller. Now, overall, my thoughts about this device. There's a lot of noise online about this device not sort of being worth it, or at least before today. Who knows? A bunch of people were reviewing it. But with that, a lot of the noise is saying it's not worth it because it is priced pretty high next to the Pro. Now, there's no denying this device isn't expensive as hell. As mentioned, I'm a bit of a wannabe minimalist. I try not to just buy shit all the time, and I'm having a hard time justifying this just based off of the price point alone. and it's just a hard pill to swallow even still. That said, how many flipping times can I replace the battery on my 13 mini? I'd be going on my third replacement, and that would put me up to, I don't know, 475 Canadian dollars worth of battery replacements, which is more than half the price of this device right now. So do I want to change the battery for a third time? I'm really not sure this time around. It might actually be time to just get a new phone. Maybe replace the battery on this when it gets old. Who knows? Still, I can say there's definitely a ton of value to be had with the iPhone Air, mainly because there's nothing quite else like it on the lineup of iPhones specifically. Again, there are going to be other super thin devices. They're going to be the Android ones. Some of those foldables are absolutely wild when it comes to thin and light. But yeah, none of those are iPhones, and some people just really like iPhones. That said, don't listen to the noise. You don't even have to listen to me if you really don't want to, but I'd recommend you go into an Apple store if you're considering it and have this thing in hand. Bring your 13 mini or whatever phone you have, really, bring it into the store and sort of feel them side by side so you can kind of get an idea of them. Let me be clear, this is going to be shiny and new for a lot of people, so of course it's going to be a popular device. A million people are making videos of this thing, and if you're on the fence about upgrading your device and you're not really too sure if you need to upgrade your device, first things first, change your ringtone, change your wallpaper, change around your icons, and your phone is going to feel like new, if anything. So give that a go first, and then hop into the Apple Store and see how the Air works for you. If anybody's thinking about checking this out, you could always buy it and return it if you don't like it. I think a lot of people are going to dig it because, again, I consider myself a bit of a 13 mini diehard. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I have, and I might actually daily this thing going forward. All at the same time, I'm totally prepared to go back to my 13 minis. So we'll see how this goes over the next, I don't know, month or two. But yeah, this really is a badass device. I am going to check out the 17 Pro. I think that comes in about a week or two. I don't know when that one arrives. It was back ordered. But I'm going to check that one out, see how, the Apple log goes and the telephoto lenses and all that crap. But this still might be my daily. But let me know what you guys think. If you're checking out the 17 lineup, are you going with the 17, the 17 Pro, the iPhone Air, or if you're just keeping your phone right now? But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching till the end. Be sure to check out MOFT, linked in the video description. They actually make some dope stuff. I talk about their stuff all the time, even unsponsored. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching till the end. Till next time.